Hello and welcome. You're watching India Fights Back with the host Rajat Kane. Well, in this episode, we'll talk about virus variants and nomenclature. Of late, we have heard about several mutants and variants. Well, these now have been named by WHO to identify easily with Greek alphabets alpha, beta, gamma, and delta, and of course, others as well. What are these variants? What is mutation process of virus and how this in turns help us to understand virus and in this case the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, and how these variations or understandings of these variation would help us in further treatment procedure and protocol and also for studying vaccination as well. Well, to discuss further on these issue, we join with the panel of two very important guests, Dr. Arun Sharma. He's Director ICMR NIRRCNB from Jodhpur. Many thanks, Dr. Sharma, for joining us, and Dr. Ekta
Thank you,
Gupta.
Rajat.
She's Professor, Department of Virology from ILBS. Many thanks, Dr. Ekta Gupta, for joining us. Ma'am, let me start with you here first. For the benefit of our viewers, I know that this is something that by now has been discussed several times, but could you explain in brief what are these mutations of virus, the process of mutations, and what are these variants, how these variants are defined?
Okay, so very good evening to all of you. Now,
Many thanks.
this virus, COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2 virus, is an
Mhm.
RNA virus. Now, these RNA viruses, they replicate very fast. And during the process of replication, there is the proofreading, the copy making is not that correct. So they acquire defects in their genomic organization or structure. Now, these defects which accumulate are known as mutations. We call them. There is changes in the amino acids. Now, when these changes they occur, they can
Mhm.
occur in a significant region of the virus, which might
Right.
bring changes, affect pathogenicity, transmissibility, infectivity, or it can bring changes at a site where we are targeting the antibodies, like vaccine antibodies, to act. Now, these viruses, they replicate very fast and these mutations occur.
Mhm.
When this
Mhm.
started in December 2019, this was known as original B, you can call it a B0, or there were different methods of classifying this, like different systems of classifications were there. So we used to call it 2019 strains, A1 strains, B0 strains, or like that. So then the major change which came after in April 2020 was a G variant which came, which
Right.
replaced and that became the predominant. So that change was that it had increased transmissibility. There were some changes in
Mhm.
that. Following that, from October onwards, more changes started coming. And then we started calling them variant of interest and
Mhm.
variant of concern. Interest means, yes, we are looking at it. These could affect some, bring some changes. And concern means now it is established that it is affecting the transmissibility, infectiousness, or decreased response to the vaccine. So there were variants which came from UK, South Africa, Brazilian. Our India also witnessed in October 2020 certain changes. And then we started naming them. These are named as B.1, 117, B51. So it was a long numerological description. And Indian strains were called as B.1617. Three different lineages were identified. Earlier, we called them as double mutants.
Mhm.
Now we came to know that there are three different types. So this is how the virus classification, variants, and mutants are described,
Right. Right.
especially
Ma'am, many
concerning the
thanks. Absolutely. Many thanks for your opening remarks. Certainly, we will come back to you. Dr. Arun Sharma, sir. So, how these variants or understandings of these variants further help to understand the virus per se, the nature of virus, its severity, its effect? We know when for the first time there was a UK variant, there was a lot of debate about how fast it's spreading and if at all there is a correlation between the extent of spread and the severity of the virus? So,
Yeah, thank you, Rajat, for asking that important question. And for the benefit of viewers, I would like to
mhm,
make it a little more simplified that we are using three terms: mutant, strain, and variant. Now, there is a little bit of confusion in the mind of, I mean, the people who are not directly dealing with the virology of it, that what do
mhm,
these three terms mean? So, as Dr. Ekta already explained, I just want to add to that that for us to understand the virus, mutation means that the genetic structure of the virus, it is an RNA virus, when it
mhm.
replicates, when it makes newer and newer replications it's doing, certain changes in the RNA structure happens at particular
Okay.
site on the RNA. This process is known as mutation, right? And as a result, the new defined RNA that is generated is slightly different from the original one. So it's a variation. So the moment it varies from the original one, we call it a variant. So mutation leads to variation, and that is why it's called a variant. And when there are multiple variants available for a particular virus, we tend to call them as different strains. Now, why does that happen? Nature provides equal opportunity of survival to the human beings as well as to the virus. It does not discriminate. So it becomes a fight between the virus and the human beings to gain the upper hand. When the virus gains the upper hand, it starts destroying human lives and we are threatened. And when our immune system takes the upper hand, we start destroying the virus and gain the upper hand. So when these mutations and variations of the virus take place, what does it do? It tries to empower the virus to come over the immune system of the body. And in doing so, those mutations which are doing better, they try to survive by either bypassing the immunity or skipping what we call as skipping the immunity or trying to cheat the human immune system and gain an upper hand. So when a particular variant is successful, the success will mean three things. Either it can spread to larger number of people in a smaller spread of time. That means
Mhm.
the infectivity of the virus has increased. And second is it tries to make the disease process more severe, meaning severity of the virus infection is more. And the third is its ability to kill the human being. So that is fatality. So those strains or mutations which make the virus more infectious, more severe, or more fatal in nature, they are of concern to us because they are
Okay.
producing a newer and newer threat to the human life, right?
Mhm.
And like all human beings, we have to name everybody to identify that individual. So here also, since viruses do not have their own names, we human beings start giving them names. And we don't give them fancy names. So we try to put them in a scientific order. Say the original virus was first divided into two mutants. We call them A and B. And from the B mutant, another two variant came. So we call them B.1 and B.2. Now in within
Okay.
B.1, if there are certain further variations, we give it another name B.1.167. Initially, earlier,
Mm.
there was no standard method of giving a name to the virus. But now, as you started with your opening remark, the WHO has come up with a standardized nomenclature to be used. So now there are certain precautions in that. We say, don't identify the virus from the name of the country from which it originated, or do not identify the virus from the name of the community from which it is originated
Right.
to make anything look like a racism or a country specific accusation. That's what it sounds like.
Mhm.
So to make it a neutral nomenclature, now a standard procedure is being developed that how a virus should be named. And accordingly, the new nomenclature will click in soon. But we have been talking about UK variant, South Africa variant, Brazil variant. Then we started having a Bengal variant in India. Very loosely worded term of describing a
Mhm.
particular virus, and it is not scientific. It is only a geographical identification of origin of that place. So those are now being rested and a standard nomenclature is being developed. And that will help us identify the nature, character, and its implications for human life.
Right.
That's what.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sir. So that's many thanks for your remarks. I'll come back to you. Let me get Dr. Ekta Gupta here. Ma'am, again, uh, if we try to understand the mutations and the extent of its spread in terms of treating the virus, in this case, coronavirus, how does this help us in a longer run? Will it help us in developing vaccine for a further mutant?
Okay. First of all, I think it was very beautifully explained by Sir there.
Absolutely.
And see, right now, as we are again and again telling you that this is an RNA virus, it's its nature to replicate fast and produce errors during its replication. So these mutations, you cannot stop. This is the nature. And more bodies it passes, what are the factors by which these mutations will become more, is that more replication it takes place, so more transmission, more person to person it is transmitting, or like especially so in those where immunocompromised, immunosuppressed, or those, because there the virus abnormally, chances are that it will behave abnormally, and the chances that the mutations erupt will become more. So these are how that the mutations are going to occur. These are inevitable. These are usually beneficial to the survival of the virus, but it can be that these mutations may not be there, which is affecting the transmissibility or pathogenicity. Right now, the mutations or the variants which have come up, they have shown enhanced transmissibility, right? Like the first wave which we had, if one person was infected, we have seen from the lab data, could infect 3, 4, and that rule, that 15 minutes exposure, it was standing very good, like, the social distance of more than 1 meter and this thing. But with the second wave which has come, we are seeing that the transmissibility is really affected. There have been now lab confirmed studies where they have shown that it is highly transmissible. But the actual real world data to us, which we are seeing, is that the one person infected has infected 10 or 12 family members. And even with the less than 15 minutes exposure time, this is what exactly the lab reports and our reports are showing and the patients are showing to us. So the transmissibility has got affected. It is not affected by the vaccination. Both doses with good neutralizing antibody present have also shown infection. Infection has been seen, but severity of disease has not been seen a lot, although those are also. So the variants which have come up have affected the transmissibility. It has affected the less responsiveness towards the vaccine which we are giving, but by far all the vaccines which we are giving and they are available are not are effective in terms that the severity of disease is controlled and prevented by them. But none of the variants so far has come has evaded the standard immune treatment management protocol. And the treatment for COVID is not antivirals. We have seen now with the remdesivirs and all those trials. The disease per se in COVID is not because of the virus replication. It is because of the exaggerated inflammatory response. So the treatment is at the right time, giving anti-inflammatory, suppressing the inflammation and the damage. So virus per se, mutation or variants have not affected the standard treatment. It's the oxygenation therapy, it is the critical care management, which is still the same. None. And tell you on the other note that none of the variants could actually pierce through your social distancing and masking and COVID appropriate behavior. So they, and since it is an enveloped virus, an RNA virus, all our disinfecting protocols, using the surface disinfection, keeping all those, disinfection protocol in place is working well. So we can actually prevent and control this infection. So the variants are there, they keep on occurring, might affect the transmissibility, but not the treatment protocol so far.
Right. Absolutely. Thanks, Dr. Ekta Gupta. Dr. Sharma here. I mean, I want to pick your thoughts about it. The severity of a particular strain and how does it affect the treatment protocol if you look at the longer run. We have seen that second wave has been far more severe than the first wave, be it in terms of the extent of spread, in terms of the damage it has caused, and of course, like I mean, we have seen now what we are seeing. The treatment protocol has evolved further. I mean, antivirals are not required. We perhaps require more of anti-inflammatory drugs. So,
Yeah, okay, Rajat. So that brings another dimension. I want to bring
mhm,
one more perspective to what Dr. Ekta so nicely described about it right now.
right,
That
sir.
when we are talking about this infectivity, virulence, and aggressiveness, it is not
Hmm.
only dependent on the virus, it also depends on human behavior. Why it depends on human behavior? That in the first wave, our concern was that the virus is being transmitted through surfaces, through objects. So we were very careful about handling of the objects, washing our hands and frequently cleaning the parcels that we are getting or not touching them and all that. That was our understanding. And we thought that the individual interaction within families is not the primary matter of concern. Now, when our understanding of this disease improved, what we saw in the second wave, why the virus is running into families. Now, I again will say here, in a bit difference from what Dr. Ekta described, being a community medicine person, I want to bring that perspective that in a family, when we are living in a closed space, particularly in urban areas, we have a tendency to live in compartmentalized areas which are air conditioned. So that means we are not allowing open or cross ventilation to take place in our homes. And what is happening that a person who has gone out, he has got the infection from meeting people there and he brings the infection home. Now, once he is inside home, he feels that he has washed his hands, he has taken a bath, he has changed his clothes, and is protected. And he comfortably spends time with his family members in a room which is air conditioned and by default does not allow any cross ventilation to take place. Now, even if he is not symptomatic, he is in the incubation period of the disease, he is shedding the virus into the atmosphere through his
Okay.
respiratory system while normally talking. Not that he is essentially sneezing or coughing or something. Simply by being seated there and normally talking, he is shedding the virus into the air. And our understanding has now come to this level. We believe that the virus remains suspended in the air. Even the government of
Mhm.
India officially announced that up to the distance of 10 meters, the virus has been found in the air. That means it is airborne. So the unsuspecting people sharing the same home, same room are now being exposed to the greater dose of the virus. So they are getting infected. So this is
Mhm.
more to do with our behavior rather than the change in the infectivity. Yes, the change in the variant might be a possible mechanism, but our behavior is a significant contributor to the way this disease is spreading. We are seeing more happening in the families. And unfortunately,
Mhm.
severe cases and fatalities are now happening in families. We need to
Mhm.
do a systematic research and find out
Okay.
that whether it is the interaction between the way people are interacting in closed spaces that is responsible for transmission, or it is a change in the
Okay.
characteristic of the virus. We need to look at that.
Right, right. As you mentioned, sir, we need to look further into it. And as we're about to close the show, just your closing remarks, sir. So, what are the caveats? As you know, I'm not being alarmist here, but as we're hearing about a possible third wave, or I mean, further variants in store.
Yeah. My appeal to all the viewers will be continue with the COVID appropriate behavior, what we are talking about from the beginning, in terms of appropriate, correct, and regular use of the mask. By appropriate, I mean definitely covering your mouth and nose and not letting it slip on your chin or below the nose. That's very important. Second thing,
Okay.
frequent washing of the hand or as a substitute use of sanitizer. And thirdly, maintaining the distance. These COVID appropriate behavior will only protect it in the first place. And secondly,
Okay.
we have the vaccine available. Make the best use. As soon as you get an opportunity, your turn comes, use the vaccine. The virus, as Dr. Ekta mentioned, has not been able to defeat the vaccine yet, not able to penetrate through our COVID appropriate behavior. That will see us through, and probably we can prevent a third, fourth, or fifth wave if we continue to maintain that responsible behavior throughout, whether there is lockdown or no lockdown. Thank you.
Right. Many thanks. Many thanks, Dr. Arun Sharma, for joining us. Dr. Ekta Kohli, I beg your pardon. Dr. Ekta Gupta, your closing remarks, ma'am. Caveats as again, like we're hearing about some, say, third wave or again possible new mutants or variations, ma'am.
So my closing remarks would be again the same, that the virus is going to mutate because, as said, that it's also going to fight for its survival. But none of the variants is going to affect your COVID appropriate behavior, as rightly pointed out. We have to take care. Now, lessons learned from second wave is very, very important, that it is the transmissibility which is increased, and so further it will increase. So as soon as we start feeling something abnormal with us, try to isolate and protect all your family members, rather than thinking that I will, because of the increased transmissibility. So the third wave might also come with as transmissible as possible. So try to isolate yourself. Vaccination is a very, very important tool with us, because as I said, that more bodies it will pass, more the chances that it will mutate. So we have to stop that chain of transmission. Vaccination is one chain of transmission, at least 70% efficacious. So at least in 100 out of 70, it will not allow it to go to other person's body. Maybe in 30 it will. So with that data, I think vaccine is a very, very important tool with us. Do not allow it to pass from more bodies, further given chance of the virus to mutate further. And let's stop this transmission. We can stop it by vaccination, preventing it by isolating ourselves immediately. If we find anything abnormal with us, do not linger on. First suspect should go that we could be affected by COVID, and get yourself tested and isolate. And then COVID appropriate behavior. Do not go relax on looking at the number counts declining, less than 1% positivity or something. Be alert and stay safe. Thank you.
Right. Many thanks, Dr. Ekta Gupta. So our viewers, as our experts, are saying that so far as the treatment protocol is concerned, the virus hasn't been able to penetrate the basics here. First being the COVID-appropriate behavior. And what is COVID-appropriate behavior? Keep wearing a face mask, keep maintaining physical distancing, at least 3 meters, that's what say. And of course, do not forget to keep washing your hands and sanitize yourself well. And of course, the second protocol of vaccination, please go and have it as soon as possible, or as your doctor suggests. Well, that's it in this edition of India Fights Back. Many thanks to our panelists, Dr. Arun Sharma and Dr. Ekta Gupta. That's it. And thanks for watching IFT. Goodbye.